Hello everyone, my name is Lisa Wong, and I am proud to be one of the co-chairs of this year's ATASK Silk Road Gala. It's our first virtual gala, and it promises to have something for everyone with beautiful music, inspiring stories, and news about this important work. In these challenging times, we are particularly grateful to ATASK for their commitment to the community, to the education and safety of our Asian domestic violence survivors. So sit back and enjoy a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for your support.
Welcome to the first ever virtual Silk Road Gala of the Asian Task Force Against Domestic Violence. We are here to support the critical work that ATASK does for domestic violence survivors and to raise much needed funds for their programs. ATASK's mission is to prevent domestic violence in Asian immigrant families and communities and to provide hope and stability to survivors. Founded in 1992, ATASK is the only multilingual and multicultural organization in Massachusetts and New England that specializes in culturally and linguistically specific services for Asian victims of violence. Because mainstream providers seldom offer services or information in Asian languages, victims are often unable to access the help that they need, leaving them even more vulnerable and isolated. ATASK staff, who collectively speak 20 Asian languages, are able to bridge those barriers. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we are here today to raise awareness specifically as it affects Asian communities where often cultural norms discourage victims from disclosing abuse and seeking help. This virtual gala is allowing us to reach many more people than who could normally attend our beautiful celebrations, and we hope you do in future years. But for now, we also hope that this gala will not just be a fundraiser, but a catalyst for change. In the next hour, we will be inspired by individuals who have dedicated their lives to improving the lives of others. And we will hear from survivors whose stories will make each of us realize that in today's environment of divisiveness and uncertainty, we can all take action and provide hope. We are now going to hear from the co-executive directors of ATASK.
Thank you for joining us today. There are over 60 domestic violence organizations in Massachusetts, but ATASK is the only one intentionally designed to serve Pan-Asian survivors. Our services can be likened to seeing a specialist. Most people have primary care physicians for general issues, but are referred out to see a neurologist or orthopedist for specialized care. Similarly, we receive client referrals from mainstream providers, such as hospitals, police, and schools, because they recognize that they lack the specialized cultural and linguistic capacity to serve Asian victims. ATASK clients come from 30 different countries and speak over 35 languages. They speak limited English and require translation and interpretation to access services.
COVID-19 has impacted all our lives, how we work, how we socialize, how our children experience school. But for victims of violence, COVID-19 has completely destabilized their lives. The media has reported on the universal increase in domestic violence. However, quarantining and social distancing have very different consequences for victims of violence. For a victim of violence, it means confinement with the abuser, isolation from friends and family, and being constantly monitored with no way to communicate with anyone outside the home. Before the pandemic, ATAS could provide a victim with options. They could enter a shelter, attend ESOL classes, or find a job. But when life as we knew it came to a screeching halt, when businesses laid off employees and when daycares closed, we lost our ability to plan. Even safety planning became an impossible task. There were no libraries to go to while waiting for an abuser to calm down. You couldn't go to a neighbor's house and ask for help. Even emergency rooms were turning away victims.
Language access has long been an issue for limited English proficient speakers. Under COVID-19, the language barriers have amplified significantly. Early in the pandemic, most in-person services stopped. When our clients lost their jobs and needed to file for unemployment, enroll in mass health, and apply for food stamps, it was nearly impossible because websites and forms were in English. For clients who were not tech savvy or did not have computers or smartphones, it was even harder. In addition to domestic violence and COVID-19, there is yet another crisis that victims are dealing with. Derogatory and insightful language by government leaders and on social media have resulted in an upsurge in racism, xenophobia, and hate crimes. putting Asian Americans in danger. Our clients are afraid of being threatened and attacked while doing everyday activities like riding on public transportation and going to the grocery store. And their children are being bullied in school or online. So for victims, this means that neither their home nor their community is safe.
The pandemic has magnified existing inequities for Asian survivors, and ATASK has seized the opportunity for change. Although ATASK offices are closed, our services, including the emergency shelter, remain open, and our advocates and legal team immediately started providing services remotely. ATASK staff, who collectively speak 20 Asian languages, have always provided critical translation and interpretation. During the pandemic, it has increased threefold. Advocates are spending countless hours ensuring that clients have access to pandemic-related benefits and other services, and now have learned how to use Zoom and are excited to have found an online community and no longer feel isolated. ATASK has also mitigated COVID-19 economic devastation and distributed over $125,000 to clients. These funds were used for basic living expenses such as rent, food, and utilities, and for tablets so survivors could participate in virtual meetings with advocates. We also secured Airbnbs and hotel rooms for victims escaping abusive partners.
At the beginning of the pandemic, our clients were scrambling for information on anything from COVID-19 testing sites to how to apply for unemployment, but couldn't find information in their languages. Mass.gov, which is the state central hub for information and resources, was translated into only 12 languages, of which only 4 were Asian languages. In the middle of a global crisis, with over 140 languages spoken in Massachusetts alone, this was unacceptable. In response, we worked with Jane Doe Inc., the State Domestic Violence Coalition, and doubled the number of translated languages on mass.gov, which more than tripled the number of Asian languages and added 5 South Asian languages. ATASK also partnered with MIRA and 4 other organizations to develop the first Massachusetts survey on the impact of COVID-19 in immigrant communities. The survey was translated into 15 different languages, of which 11 were Asian languages. This is significant since surveys are rarely translated into Asian languages.
Through these collaborations, we made information more accessible and ensured that voices of victims and immigrant communities were heard. We have made strides for survivors in advancing language access, but more needs to be done if we're to truly achieve equity. The changes in this nation and around the world are profound and scary, but also galvanizing, as we believe crisis to be a catalyst for reflection and change. Thank you for being here with us and for being part of a movement for change.
I had a chance to speak with Navjeet Bal of Social Finance, and let me tell you, she is a force to be reckoned with. She has spent her entire career working tirelessly to bring about social change. Here's our fireside chat. Navjeet, hello. We are so happy to be with you. You've had a varied career from the private sector in law to government as the Commissioner of Revenue and now in a nonprofit. Tell us about your commitment to social change and how you became involved with ATASK.
Well, first of all, thank you so much to the ATASK Gala Committee for inviting me to speak this evening. I'm very excited to be here, in part because, I was actually involved with ATASK a long time ago. Probably back about 20 years ago, I was on the board of ATASK. I had started the Mintz-Levin Domestic Violence Project when I was a first-year attorney about 30 years ago, and through that work got to know the DV community pretty well. So I served on the ATASK board for a number of years and actually had Mintz-Levin provide pro bono real estate representation to the shelter when we acquired the home that became the shelter. So this is really in some ways coming home for me to be speaking with everyone today. And I think that's actually a really good example of how I've expressed my commitment to social change throughout the years. I've served on many different boards addressing important social issues. And that's really been the hallmark of my commitment to making a change.
We know about your commitment to ATASK. Are there some other social issues and initiatives that have been very important to you?
I would say right from the beginning of my career, I've been very focused on issues around access to justice for poor people, making sure that everyone has a right to a lawyer or can get access to the legal help that they need. Obviously, domestic violence is an issue that I've cared a lot about over the years as well. Probably the most recent example of work that I've done actually in a very different sphere was I was on the board of the Boston Public Market, the year-round indoor public market that opened up right in the heart of downtown Boston. And we've created a space for over 40 small businesses to sell their New England-based goods and products in Boston. So that was a lot of fun. I was really excited to do that.
And we want to point out that even if you don't have the ability to run an organization like you have or to be on a board, we can always still support by just donating, volunteering a couple hours or anything in order to support an important initiative.
Absolutely. Obviously, financial support from the community is so critical to keeping organizations such as ATASK and others going. So is your time, devoting your time, whether it's providing direct services, supporting the organization, serving on a committee or a board, and making those connections to other organizations within the community is also, I think, really important.
I want to ask you this. We've seen law firms stepping up to help with the issues of domestic violence because, of course, it becomes usually a legal issue, a legal case. But how can we get other industries to step up? And are there some industries that you're eyeing who could really help?
That's a great question. And sort of, again, now a number of years ago, there was a group of CEOs that got together to address the issue of domestic violence. The issue of domestic violence cuts across all classes, all races. It really affects every community and affects workers across a variety of industries as well. And that group was very impactful, both in figuring out how to provide services for their own employees who may be affected by domestic violence, as well as reaching out to the community. And so, for example, there was a challenge that the CEO group put out to adopt a local shelter for a company or a law firm or an organization to adopt a local shelter and provide not only financial help, but also job training and community support in many different ways. And I think that, that is something that we should, I feel like that effort has sort of dissipated in Boston. And I think it would be an interesting one to bring up again to try and really harness the amazing power within the city of Boston to address issues that are challenging and affect all of us in some way.
Navjeet, I think there are a few things more compelling than the thought of someone who is suffering. And those are many of the clients that we are thinking about tonight with ATASK. They are physically suffering and emotionally suffering. And it is so compelling. I want to ask you about taking your involvement with ATASK, how you choose the issues that you want to support.
There are many issues one can get involved with, from the environment to youth, working on youth development with young people, our educational system, domestic violence, legal services. So I really think it's important to find the issues that resonate and resonate with you individually, that make, as I said earlier, that make you excited and passionate and want to contribute, but also that make good use of your resources, whether it's your educational background or the ties that you have to the community, because I think, it's incumbent on all of us, especially those of us who have had the opportunity to get a professional degree or further education, to really give back and to understand, if I'm a doctor, I can do certain things. If I'm a lawyer, I can do certain things. If I'm in finance, I can bring a certain perspective to helping solve a problem. And when you start harnessing that kind of energy for good, there's really almost no limit to what we can do. So think about your own resources, think about how you want to contribute, where you want to focus, and then make that commitment. I encourage everybody to do that. And so I encourage, this is not always a popular thing, but I encourage people to figure out how money works, whether it's, the private sector or the public sector or the nonprofit, because I think that way we can really start to mobilize resources, mobilize capital to make a difference. So think about that as you're thinking about, your career choices or how you might want to orient your work in the next phase of your life.
Being fairly new to Bloomberg after so many years at the NBC affiliate, I am learning that firsthand, that money has power and it's necessary, and we should all leverage capital, actual capital and social capital. And speaking of that, I want you to tell us just a little bit more about the Mintz 11 Domestic Violence Project and how you really drew in a lot of people to help you.
Yeah, it was very, I was 6 months out of law school when I co-founded that project with a dear friend of mine at the firm, Kathy Pulowski, and she had herself was a DV survivor, so had a passion for the subject. I knew people in the community at legal services and other law firms who were doing similar work. So between the two of us, we put together the Mintz 11 Domestic Violence Project now a little bit over 30 years ago. The project really took off within the firm. The firm truly embraced it as its own, which was incredible. And many people committed time and resources to the project. It was a wonderful, affirming process for me because I really believe in taking the resources I had access to, which were the resources of a major law firm, and bringing them to bear to address a social problem. And it was a very concrete example of that. And I think one of the things I've taken away from that whole experience was how it impacted the people who worked on the Mintz 11 Domestic Violence Project, so lawyers and others who were involved. For some people, it inspired them actually to devote their whole careers to addressing the issue of domestic violence. For others, it inspired them to really commit to social change as a way of expressing their work through the law. So I think in some ways I'm almost the proudest of that, the way that we had a way to really impact people.
I see like this constellation, like one of your friends went on to work with civil rights in Haiti. Someone else became a law professor. Others went to work at nonprofits. So it's something that you get the spark early on and then it grows. But I hope also the message is, while sometimes the spark hits early, it's really never too late to light that spark.
It's never too late. And ultimately, this work, as I said, this work is hard, and especially if you're doing it on a voluntary basis, or even if you're part of an organization. Yet the joy that it brings to you as a person to feel like you're making the world a better place, that you're impacting individuals and making their lives better, and that you're helping to build a community of like-minded people is truly wonderful, and something that I believe anyone at any stage in their life can really participate in. And I encourage people to do that.
I think that's the perfect message to end our conversation. Navjeet, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
One of ATASK's most important programs is the emergency shelter. To protect the safety of survivors, it is a confidential location that few people are allowed to visit. For the first time ever, we are giving you a virtual tour of the shelter so you can see a very special place where many survivors have started their journeys to safety and independence.
Welcome to ATASK Emergency Shelter. Here's the place where survivors come when they need a safe place to live. This is the office. There are staffs 24 hours a day. This is where the hotline is answered. The staff speak 20 languages. Even if you don't speak English, you can still get help. When clients arrive, they are often very scared because they just made one of the hardest decisions in their life. They left their home and are now homeless. And they are not sure what their future will be like. The staff at ATASK works with you to figure out what to do next. They help you get childcare vouchers and food stamps, enroll kids in school,
look for jobs, and get health insurance. ATASK legal program helps you get restraining orders, apply for green cards, and get child support. This is the kitchen where families gather every day. Like many homes, it is the heart of the house. When you are new, everyone welcomes you and offers you food. It seems like a small gesture, but for someone who is used to being treated badly all the time, it is a wonderful feeling. The kitchen is also a place where you make many happy memories. Here you can cook dumplings together, have birthday parties for the kids, and celebrate holidays. And little by little, you start to picture what a new life can look like. This is the living room where families can gather. Here we have many activities like karaoke, yoga, painting, and movie nights. It is also where we have house meetings, where clients can meet with a nurse or counselor, and kids can get early intervention services. This is the playroom where the kids have toys and books, and where volunteers come every week and play with them. This is the backyard where we have barbecues. There is a playground for the kids, and we also have a small garden. Now let's go up to the second floor. Here we are on the third floor, where we have 4 bedrooms. We are about to enter one of the bedrooms. This is a very special bedroom to me because this is where I live when I was staying here at the shelter with my daughter. And it is the place where I started my journey to having a safe and independent life. I was 21 years old and living in China. I met a man through some friends. He was from the same city as me in China and had moved to Boston. For 4 years, we spoke on the phone every day for 2 hours, and every year he would come to visit me for 1 month in China. He was very sociable. He spent time with my mother. I grew to love him. He asked me to move to Boston with him. He promised that in the US, I would go to college. Soon after I arrived in Boston, we got married and I got pregnant. In Boston, I noticed he was different. He was not like the man I knew in China. He was always angry. He and his parents always criticized me. Even though he had a good job, he only gave me $20 a month allowance, and I was not allowed out of the house without a chaperone. After my daughter was born, things got much worse. They got mad at me when I spoke, so I stopped talking. I did chores from early morning to late at night. It was like being in the military. Nothing I did was ever good enough, so my husband always slapped me. Very hard, sometimes 7 times a day, sometimes in front of my daughter. I was not allowed to cry, so I trained myself not to cry. I forgot about my dream to go to college because my husband said I could only take care of the baby and his parents. I had a new goal. It was for one day not to be blamed for anything. That day never came. When you hear it often enough, you start to believe the things that they say. I believe I was stupid, couldn't do anything right, and that everything was my fault, so I deserved to be hit. Even though things were bad, I wanted to save my marriage. If I got divorced, it would be shameful, and I wouldn't be able to go back to China. I didn't think I could survive in the US on my own. I didn't speak English, didn't have money, I didn't have a place to live, and I didn't want my daughter to be on the street. So I was determined to stay and saved my marriage. The only person I was allowed to see was my neighbor. One day I broke down and cried and told her what was happening. And she told me about Asian Task Force. I called ATASK. They connected me to someone who spoke Chinese. I never heard of domestic violence before. I didn't know I was a victim. My advocate helped me understand my options. After talking to her, I knew I had to do 3 things. Carry my own ID. Tell him I wasn't ready to have a second baby. Tell my husband I wanted to study English. My husband got furious. Things at home got worse. I called ATASK. They said if I wanted to leave, they would find a place for me to live. They would help me get child support and help me plan for the future. For the first time, I realized I had options. I decided I had to leave as soon as possible. I knew my husband's family was building a case to say I was a bad mom, so they could take my daughter away from me. So I moved to shelter. I was confused. My mind was completely blank, but I knew I needed help. ATASK was there to support me. They gave me clothes, food, and a tea pass. They helped me find a daycare for my daughter, and I went to school. I enrolled in Bunker Hill and started to be a cardiac sonographer. It was such a difficult time in my life. I was working full-time at McDonald's and studying and raising a child as a single mom. Many people helped me, and I finally finished school. With support and guidance from ATASK, I'm living the life of my dreams. I went to college and I have a good job. And I recently bought a house. It took me a long time to find my voice. And I'm proud to say that today I'm raising my daughter to have a voice. Thank you, ATASK, for believing in me.
I cannot tell you how happy we are to see Grace living the life of her dreams. I ask you to join me in partnering with ATASK so that we can help other survivors like Grace. This year, we have seen a significant rise in domestic violence as survivors have been confined with their abusers. Your support is needed now more than ever. To donate, you'll find the QR code, ATASK website, and text to give number on the screen. There's also a donation link in the chat box. Here are some ways that can make a difference today. $5,000 pays for a case manager to work directly with survivors for 1 month. $2,500 gets a month of internet and cell service, so advocates can provide virtual services to clients. $1,000 provides a week of English classes for clients so they can get better jobs in the future. $500 pays for starter furniture for a client moving to a new home. $250 gets tablets so clients can access virtual services and attend online classes. $100 pays for 1 month of transportation or utilities for a client. And with $50, we can get food cards for clients for 1 week.
ATASK is so lucky to have many committed supporters throughout the years. Special thanks to Tufts Medical Center, the leading sponsor of the Silk Road Gala for the past 28 years. Amazing. ATASK donors and community partnerships play a vital role in advancing and supporting this mission. The reason people and organizations get involved are varied, but all contribute to improving the lives of survivors.
My name is Jean Russell. I have supported and volunteered for ATASK for close to 20 years. The reason I started to support ATASK was their mission in helping the victims of domestic violence in the Asian community and the positive life-changing impact they have with their clients. Getting to know the staff at ATASK who have passion and commitment in serving their clients has motivated me further to provide support whenever I can. Unfortunately, domestic violence does not discriminate based on race, nationality, color, economic social status, gender identity, or religion. And the impactful work of ATASK is strongly needed.
Hello, my name is Rajesh Sounder. When I was a grad student at MIT, I chose to volunteer at ATASK as I was drawn to their mission and comprehensive programs to help brave survivors get back on their feet. I recently became a board member and am proud to be part of a team that's maximizing ATASK's impact during this most crucial moment in a time when the need is greatest. Thank you for joining us and for supporting ATASK. Each dollar counts, and in my opinion, will save a life.
Hi, I'm Sheila Lirio Marcello. I'm founder and former CEO and chairwoman of Care.com. As a young mother in college, I understood early on how difficult it was to juggle family and school, and how easy it would have been to give up my dreams of going to law school and pursuing a career. I was fortunate, however, to have a support system to keep me on track. For domestic violence survivors, ATASK is not only their support system, but their lifeline. ATASK makes it possible for survivors to pursue their dreams of having safe lives, raising children in a home free of violence, and becoming economically independent. This is why I've been supporting ATASK since 2008. When I first learned of their mission to empower survivors, I knew I had to be involved. Join me in supporting this wonderful organization, because together with ATASK, we can break down barriers and provide life-changing opportunities for survivors and their families. Thank you.
I'm Mandy. I'm a second-year medical student at Tufts, and I volunteer with ATASK because survivors of domestic and intimate partner violence deserve to have the full support of their community. When it comes to the Pan-Asian families that ATASK serves, their unique challenges of immigration status and cultural and language barriers make it all the more important to build community and to know they're never alone. Especially in the COVID-19 pandemic, I appreciate how our student volunteering work with ATASK could provide families with some measure of consistency and continuity as they navigate instability of personal and global proportions.
As you know, we all are affected by domestic violence. I have been involved for these many years because of the history of domestic violence in my own family many years ago. I have seen the dire consequences and heartaches resulted not only directly to the victim, but to all my family members. Your generous support this year is more needed than ever in these unprecedented times of COVID, where families need to shelter in place in their homes, and where the stress levels and frustrations of job losses and other hardships render them very, very vulnerable to further abuse, and they have no other avenues of relief. Thank you so much for your support. Have a good evening.
Tonight, we have seen and heard how ATASK is the lifeline that provides survivors hope and a pathway to independence. Because of ATASK and its generous supporters like you, survivors and their families are able to live safely, independently, promising a life full of opportunities. We often hear about how grateful clients are to ATASK. They give back by sharing their stories in hopes that they can help someone else in abusive situations.
10 years ago, my ex-husband took my daughter away from me, and for many months, I was not sure if I would see her again. ATASK helped me get my daughter back. Then they helped me when we have nowhere to live. My daughter and I living in shelter while I took English classes and studied to become a certified nurse assistant. Today, I have a good job, a safe home, and my daughter and I are so happy. I owe everything to ATASK, so I have been donating when I can, even if it is just a little. And this year I become a recurring donor. So now I give every month. Today, I'm asking you to join me and donate to ATASK because there are many people like me who need ATASK's help.
We know times are challenging, but this vital work cannot stop. We hope you will extend a hand to people who really need our help. There are many ways you can give tonight, including the QR code, as well as the text to give number you see on the screen. You can also go to our website, atask.org/donate. Grace Kelly performed for the gala about 10 years ago when she was just 15 years old, and we are delighted to have her back. Since then, her career has taken off. She has recorded 13 albums and performed at Barack Obama's first inauguration. She has also appeared as a soloist with the Boston Pops and the Boston Landmarks Orchestra.
Hello everybody, I'm Grace Kelly, singer, saxophonist, songwriter, coming to you from my music studio in New York City. Listen, I'm so delighted to be here tonight at your virtual gala, and I want to thank the team at Asian Task Force for helping individuals and families find support and guidance in such difficult situations having to do with domestic violence. I want to thank all of you who are here tonight watching and listening for being here, and I hope you will all consider supporting Asian Task Force and the life-changing opportunities they're providing for their survivor community. The song that you are about to watch is an original composition of mine called Trying to Figure It Out. It was written in a time of my life when I was feeling lost and confused. It's a song about taking one step forward and just continuing to move forward. We're all trying to figure it out right now, especially during this pandemic. And we're all so much stronger if we can figure this out and help each other within our communities. Support and lift each other up, reach out to one another when we are in need of help, or just to be there to help others who are in need, just as Asian Task Force does. So I hope you'll enjoy the song, and I'm sending so much love and blessings to all of you.
I've met my heartache, drank the bottle dry. My tears of sadness, salt has stained my eyes. I've been let down some days. But I stuck around, lost to the dreamers. It's all I've known, the ups and downs. On this bumpy road, I'm trying for something. Figure it out. I will not let the blues break me. I will not let the blues take me. I've done my time, cried my woes. No sorries for the taking. One one step and then another, and slowly we discover it may not be perfect, or the way we planned, but we're only here for the time at hand. So keep your head high and do the best you can. We're all trying to figure it out. I will not let the blues break me. No, I will not let the blues take me. I've done my time, I've cried my woes. No sorries for the taking. One step in there, and slowly we discover well, it may not be perfect, or the way we planned, but we're only here for the time at hand. So keep your head high and do the best you can. We're all trying to figure it out. Ain't that right, friends? We're all trying to figure it out. Don't you know that we're all trying to figure it out?
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for Silk Road Gala 2020. My name is Poonam Paidar, and I am the chair of the Board of Directors of ATASK. 2020 has certainly been an extraordinary year, and ATASK has done extraordinary work. That is thanks to the leadership, vision, and energy of Don and Christina, our co-executive directors. This marks their 5th year as co-executive directors. I want to take a moment to say thank you to both of them for their incredibly hard work in getting ATASK to where it is today, but also their dedication and their vision for ATASK's future. I want to thank all of you, our supporters, our patrons, and our sponsors. Without all of you, we would not be able to provide the services that we do today. I want to especially thank Tufts Medical Center, who has been our sponsor for the last 28 years and our partner in the community. This year in particular, with their help, we were able to procure enough laptops and tablets to provide services to all of our clients remotely. Thank you. I want to also say thank you to Sarah Kim, our outgoing chair of the board. Her leadership, vision, and dedication to ATASK has brought ATASK to a new level of financial stability and has given us the opportunity to plan for the next 5 years and expand ATASK's mission and its reach. Thank you, Sarah. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to Janet Wu, Jean Russell, and Dr. Lisa Wong. Thank you for making tonight possible and bringing your energy and your enthusiasm to our mission. Thank you again, all of you, for joining us tonight, and hope to see you in 2021.